Now with the latest weekend headlines, it's the ITV News.
The escalating war of words between America and Russia over Ukraine. The diplomatic row reached the highest level after President Biden called President Putin a butcher and appeared to call for regime change in Moscow.
Ukraine will never be a victory for Russia, for free people refused to live in a world of hopelessness and darkness. For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
Russia blasted the city of Lviv today and said Mr. Biden's comments made mending relations even harder. Also tonight, relationships evolve, friendship endures. Prince William says the monarchy will respect any Caribbean nation wanting to become an independent republic.
This is ITV News with Duncan Golestani.
Good evening. The uneasy standoff between America and Russia over Ukraine descended into a diplomatic war of words at the highest level tonight. President Biden called President Putin a butcher and said he should not remain in power. Moscow quickly retaliated, the official news agency TASS saying the comments further narrowed the possibilities for mending relations. Mr. Biden was speaking in Poland to reassure Poles America will stand by them and to send a warning to Russia. From Warsaw, Peter Smith reports.
Until now, President Joe Biden has been careful to stay well away from Russian regime change. But tonight in Warsaw, his speech delivered more than a hint of escalation.
We will have a different future, a brighter future, rooted in democracy and principles, hope and light, of decency and dignity, of freedom and possibilities. For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
The White House denies there has been a call for regime change in Moscow, merely a call for Putin to respect his neighbours. But maybe this explains the intense fury of the president.
Oh, we're so big.
Just hours before his speech, he came face to face for the first time with Ukrainian refugees in Poland, an encounter he was clearly affected by personally.
I don't speak Ukrainian, but tell her I want to take her home.
Я хочу з дівчинкою додому поїхати. В Україну. Let's go home
I've
to
got
Ukraine.
4 little girls at home, granddaughters.
This experience drew ire for Russia's leader.
You're dealing every day with Vladimir Putin. I mean, look at what he's done to these people. What does it make you think?
He's a butcher.
In this war of words, Putin's press secretary has tonight hit back, saying it is not for Biden to decide. The president of Russia is elected by the Russians. But the pressure is now on President Biden to back up his tough talk against Vladimir Putin with more military support on NATO's eastern border. Russian bombs are falling ever closer to Poland's border, and today the Polish president was assured America will defend any NATO member. But Poland also needs help with a humanitarian crisis. Vladislava is one of 1 million child refugees here now. We met her in a Warsaw shelter where children draw their trauma. If pictures are worth 1,000 words, what are Ukraine's children trying to tell the world?
My home was broken. Everybody had to leave and hide in a safe place. I just want the war to be over.
President Biden has now left, and after this visit, any diplomatic paths to peace now seem further away. Peter Smith, ITV News, Warsaw in Poland.
Well, while politicians talked, the fighting continued in Ukraine. Russia launched new attacks on Lviv in the west just a day after they said they were concentrating operations in the east. It also said it was targeting Ukraine's military infrastructure and released video of cruise missiles being launched. Our correspondent Geraint Vincent reports now from Lviv.
Saturday afternoon in Lviv and black smoke spreads across the sky. This is a Ukrainian city hundreds of miles away from the front lines in this war. But the fire here was caused, said the city authorities, by Russian rockets. This man works in a market close by. The force of the explosions, he said, felt like an earthquake. The target here was a fuel depot. Another missile hit the city about an hour later. The day after, Russia's defense ministry announced that it was refocusing its offensive in the east of Ukraine. Explosions here in Lviv, just a few miles from Ukraine's border with the EU. In the east, the misery of an invaded people continues. The assault on the port city of Mariupol grinds on, and stories of survival are harrowing. This man from Mariupol told us that he and his family lived in a cellar for 2 weeks. There were lots of bodies, he said. People were dying around us. And yet the Ukrainian defense of this country has put the Russian advance in many places into reverse. Ukraine's president praised what he calls hero cities for their resistance. Our defenders are forcing the Russian leadership to a simple conclusion, he said. There must be talks, urgent, meaningful and fair. Moscow appears, though, in no mood to talk. Instead, it released images of missiles being launched on Ukrainian targets. And the defense minister, Sergei Shoigu, who hasn't been seen in public for 2 weeks, appeared on television talking about the readiness of Russia's nuclear arsenal. And the missiles which landed in Lviv this afternoon, just as America's president was paying a visit to neighbouring Poland, came with a message. All of Ukraine remains within Russia's reach, and anything which might help the Ukrainian war effort will be hit. Garrett Vincent, ITV News, Lviv.
In a significant and unexpected statement, the Duke of Cambridge said any decision by Jamaica, Belize and the Bahamas to break away from the British monarchy and become an independent republic will be supported with pride and respect by the UK. William and Kate today visited the tiny island of Abaco, devastated 3 years ago by a hurricane. Our royal editor, Chris Shipp, is there and just sent us this report.
Final country, final day, and a moment in the Bahamas to do what these tours are meant to do, focus attention on others. In this case, it was the impact of Hurricane Dorian 2.5 years ago, but William and Kate saw and heard the stories of what happened.
How scary was it?
Scary? I was in my house, and after we saw the roof coming off, and the roof blew off, and the sides collapsed, my husband said, I say, we got to get out of here.
Before they leave this region, one final evening reception and a final speech where Prince William said what he might have been better saying to these realms at the outset of the tour.
I want to say this. We support with pride and respect your decisions about your future. Relationships evolve, friendship endures.
For all the issues thrown up by this royal tour and what they are for in 2022, there are those here who welcome any attention on the destruction the hurricane left.
We want them to see. We can't hide this. This is what we're living in. We can't hide it from the world. We need them to see.
And the handshakes here, as walkabouts normally do, happened without offence or any of the controversy of Jamaica this week.
The focus today is back on people rather than the problems of this tour. Prince William knows there have been issues, but he believes the answer is not to stop coming to these countries, but to reflect on the problems raised.
Questions about the past, particularly Britain's past in the former colonies, have been in sharp focus here. As William and Kate leave, they have heard that message loud and clear. Chris Shipp, ITV News, the Bahamas.
Hundreds of people protested today against the sacking of 800 crew members at P&O. The demonstrations came after a P&O ship was detained over safety fears as the company looks to replace the crew with cheaper agency staff. Neil Connery reports.
Shame on you, P&O!
Protests at P&O's sacking of 800 workers without notice at a number of ports, including Liverpool today. Calls too for customers to boycott the company. Unions have raised fears over a lack of training of new crew and want the government to take action.
We're calling on the government to bring some laws in and make an intervention that gets our people back to work in their rightful positions under their contract of employment. And it's also the start of a boycott P&O campaign. If they don't come back to bringing our people back, we're going to have to boycott P&O.
A ship operated by P&O Ferries has been detained in Northern Ireland after being found unfit to sail. The European causeway is being held in Larne due to failures on crew familiarisation, vessel documentation and crew training, according to the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency. P&O says it will make changes to return the ship to service. The company's chief executive officer, Peter Hebblethwaite, admitted to MPs this week that P&O broke the law by not consulting workers ahead of job cuts.
I completely hold our hands up, our hands up, that we did choose not to consult.
The Prime Minister has joined others in government calling for him to quit.
If you're the chief executive of a leading UK company and you sit in front of a select committee of the House of Commons and say you knowingly broke the law and you do it again, I do think you should question your position, yes.
Meanwhile, Labour has written to the Business Secretary asking whether the government will use the law to seek P&O's CEO's removal as a director, accusing ministers of a toothless response. Neil Connery, ITV News.
On to football, and England's preparations for this year's World Cup continued with victory tonight. They beat Switzerland 2-1 in a friendly at Wembley, thanks to a landmark goal from Harry Kane. Chris Scudder has the action.
Not much happened in the second half until a stray raised arm cost the Swiss. A second look by the referee and he changed his decision. Penalty to England and a winning start to World Cup year. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
And that is it. But before we go, a quick reminder that the clocks go forward 1 hour tonight at 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock for the start of British summertime. But from me and the whole team here and in Ukraine, thank you for watching and good night.
This unexpected warm winter sun could disappear by lunchtime. Heinz Soups sponsors ITV National Weather.
A very good evening to you. Another chilly night ahead and split fortunes tomorrow. Sunny skies remain in the west. A little more cloud cover further east. And a quick reminder, the clocks change tonight. They go forward an hour. We lose an hour's sleep, but we do gain those longer, lighter evenings. As the night wears on, like recent nights, close to freezing in the most prone rural spots, a touch of ground frost likely, a few pockets of mist and fog. Extensive misty low cloud lapping in from the near North Sea along those eastern counties. Here, a very different start tomorrow morning compared to recent mornings. Cold and grey. Elsewhere, clear and crisp. Beautiful blue skies from the word go once more. And temperatures doing well in the afternoon sunshine. Elsewhere, the cloud trying to be nibbled away. I'm optimistic of things slowly improving, but where it stays disappointingly grey, it will stay really quite chilly. The same goes for the coast in a bit of a breeze. Elsewhere, it's looking promising this Mother's Day. Highs of